Hello and welcome to another episode of the Never a Straight Answer podcast, the podcast that aims to cover a wide range of topics from conspiracy theories to popular culture and news. I'm your host Gaz, and joining me in the studio, well, it said like Dracula, he's not invited to many parties because he sucks the life out of him. He's my co-host, he's Mr. Taylor.
Cheeky bugger.
Well, it's not my fault, it's what I'm told, do you know what I I mean?
Well, yeah.
Welcome back to another instalment of the show. Yeah. And on all, as always, thank you for joining us. Thank you, new listeners, and of course you repeat offenders. It's always good to have you aboard. And this is an episode that definitely sucks. Well, it's only because of the topic. On this week's show,
Dirty Minds,
we're going to be talking vampires.
Yes.
I want to suck your blood.
Yeah,
we've never done vampires, and it's surprising because, I mean, in terms of, like, you know, mythological creatures of the night, you know, demons and stuff that we have covered, vampires is quite a popular, a popular topic.
True, but we always knew that we were going to do it, same as some other ones that are going to be coming up.
Of course,
soon.
I mean, they were always kind of like on the cards, but I mean, it's one of those where it's such a wide
variety
topic.
of stuff that we talk about. That we have.
Well, no, even just vampires on their own.
Yeah.
Do you know?
I don't think we've got enough time tonight to do it.
Recently discovered that there's so many variations. Typically, a vampire is a creature in folklore that subdues its victims and feeds upon their blood.
Yeah, look into the eyes, not around the eyes, in the eyes.
Totally. I mean, they have been known to use hypnosis and sort of like, you know, to bamboozle the prey.
Got to catch him somewhere.
Mostly from European folklore, vampires are undead creatures and often visit loved ones to cause mischief. So,
as you do.
You know, actually, that's a point, because I do see that, you know, in terms of, like, you know, films and stuff like that, they always do kind of go back to the loved ones, and that, I always thought that was kind of like a longing for their older life. Do you know what I mean? Anyway,
or a favour for your rest of your family, you know what I mean? You're all staying with me, you know what I mean?
Just popping in.
Yeah.
Most people associate vampires with Count Dracula and the legend, and obviously the legendary Bram Stoker epic novel Dracula, which was published in 1897. So obviously this is, you know, something that's been kind of like in folklore for quite a long time. Well, so you must think that there must be some sort of, like, you know, roots to the actual the history of vampires, and it must have sort of, like, where there's smoke there's fire. There must have been some sort of vampires out there. We're going to be looking into it a bit later on in the show. That's coming up very shortly, plus the random week's events in this week's news. So it's well worth sticking around for. There's been some definite world events and random news.
Yeah, there definitely is that.
I mean, one thing I will ask you, and this is a question for you, Mr. Taylor.
Oh, right. Okay.
Is if you were a vampire, one thing that you would have to cope with is immortality.
Oh, I don't know.
Immortality is one word that crops to mind. Boring.
Yep, so boring.
How do you think our minds would cope with immortality? Would you think we'd burn out? Do you think we just get, like, to the point? I mean, there's mental health problems now. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I've only been on this planet for however long, and I'm fucking bored shitless. Already.
I think mental health will. But then again, you could test to do anything you want. But that would, let's say, 10 years worth of doing whatever you want to do, and then you'll get bored of, like,
well, this is it.
What are you going to do next?
Like, the doors are open, you can do whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you're immortal. You can kind of fly around and, you know.
Yeah.
To each other night.
But then you've got other things that you've got to avoid. You've got to make sure you can't go near. And
no garlic on your pizza. No garlic bread.
Yeah. Oh, what the fuck?
Imagine Peter Kay would have turned into a vampire. It'd be like, garlic bread.
That's not the future.
It's not the future.
No.
Not for vampires.
No.
I feel like being immortal, I mean, it's one of those where it sounds great on the surface. Yeah. But having to watch all your loved ones
go.
I mean, you've got the option to maybe turn them.
Yeah, but then it's also on what age they are. You know what I mean?
I know, because if you were a vampire, like, have you ever seen? We'll get into all this, but a bit later on in the show. But if you've ever seen What We Do in the Shadows, which is obviously about vampires,
it is.
There is a vampire that was turned as a baby, but in vampire society there's a bit of a kind of taboo about turning babies into vampires because they stay that age.
Yeah, and they're easy targets. And
well, no, it's just kind of sick. Do you know what I mean? Even for vampires, it's like, it's pretty sick to turn a baby into a vampire, I should imagine.
But then you've got the choice, haven't you, as tales say, that you can either turn them into a vampire or...
Eat them.
Yeah, there's your food. Bang, bang.
Yeah, true, actually. Because I often wondered where that distinction is, because, I mean, obviously they go, all right, you bite the neck, you know, is that just draining them, or is there some sort of secretion of, like, some sort of toxin that they pump into them, or do they make them drink their blood? I think they have to drink their blood in some instances, but... you know, to turn them to a vampire. Well,
we're getting into it a bit later, because I was just about to jump in about
I know. Well, it won't be long. We won't be long.
Yep.
We've just got a few other bits we have to go through first.
Yes, we will.
So, yeah. Well, firstly, I'll ask you, what have you been up to this week?
Me, work, and I've actually been looking into more UFOs and other, like, a little bit of science.
A little bit of this,
a little bit of that,
a little bit of that.
Yeah.
I've been looking into
what's
some
going
stuff
on now
for upcoming episodes, as well as our 200th episode that
will potentially become. Don't miss that.
Be missing that.
Yes,
200 episodes in. Well, we actually have put out more than 200 already, but I mean, that's
but we're
hitting
classing
over here.
it, as the 200
main episodes, 200 main episodes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's going to be coming up in the near future.
If
you want to get involved and you want to help us, you know, with the production of our 200th episode and other episodes coming up this year and the rest of
we don't mind a little help if you've got a little time.
For the rest of time, you can. Do you know what? We will give you, like, you know, preferential treatment round here.
Yeah.
Anyway, you can get involved. You can get over to Patreon and join up. You can sign up as an agent, special agent, or be on Top Secret.
Oh, Top Secret.
And that, you know, means that you're part of the crew.
You're
involved. You're helping us put out a better episode, and as well as some other projects going forward. So if you want to get over to Patreon and sign up, you can do by following the link in the description. It all helps us out.
It does. Or you can even buy us a coffee if you just want, you know, a little
something
sprinkle.
You can be proud of. That you know you're helping us put out a top-notch show. You know what I mean? Also, like you say, you can go over to buy us a coffee and support us there, or go over to the website on the support tab, and there's few ways there where you can help us out. You can also buy some merch, which is available, and a fantastic design there by Ross Cookie, who's a great artist, and that's going to be there for a while, but you know, we might change it, so
we will
get
at one point
while you can, because they won't be there forever.
We won't.
Yeah.
Might be worth a fortune in years to come when we go, you know, and even massive.
I love Taylor's merch because, like, whenever I see Taylor wearing, like, a Never a Straight Answer t-shirt, it's one he's made himself, and I'm like, that's not official. That's not official merch.
Well, I've got a little secret.
Go on.
My mum made that for me.
Oh, bless her. Well, you got to wear it then.
Mother.
You've got to wear it then.
Yeah.
I'm not going to knock you for that if your mum made it.
Yeah, got done it.
Yeah, well, so if you want to get involved, if you've got any questions or suggestions, or if you want to get involved in What's Fucked Up Where You're From, where we look at fucked up events that have happened in your area, maybe you've got a cryptid or a ghost story.
Come on, we all know you've got a fucked up area.
Conspiracy theory or anything that's a bit abnormal around your neck of the woods. And perhaps you live next door to a serial killer. We want to know. We want to know. Let us know in an email. Send it to neverstraightanswer@gmail.com, and we could be featuring you on the show, as well as deep diving into your area to see what else we can find.
We've got some guests as well who are
we've got some guests coming up in the next couple of weeks, so that's something to stay tuned to. Tell you what, actually, I have been doing. Right. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the show in previous episodes, but you know, I'm a big time travel fan.
You're a free loop.
There was a series called Quantum Leap.
Was
happened in the late, early 90s. And if you watched it, it was such a good show. You know, they've actually done not a remake, but a continuation.
They have. I want to try and get into it.
I'll be honest with you, it is actually brilliant, right? It's 30 years since Dr. Sam Beckett stepped into the Quantum Leap Accelerator. and vanished. Yeah.
Disappeared just like that.
A new team have been assembled to restart the project in hopes to understand the mysteries of the machine and where the man went who created it.
And will they find out all the answers that
I tell
they
you
are
what,
questing?
though, but dipping back into the original sort of story and the history behind the show, they've done a really good job so far. Plus, it's actually has Ernie Hudson in it, who is Winston from Ghostbusters.
Oh, yeah.
Which actually lends it quite a lot of credibility in my book.
Yeah,
I find it quite a good watch if you want to go and check that out. Recommended. So, yeah. Other shows that I would like.
Yeah,
no, I'm joking. There's loads. But what we did.
Not watch so many.
I'm going back into vampire territory now. I was trying to do a segue, but it didn't quite work. What we do in the shadows is probably one of my favourite vampire,
programs,
parodies. Adaptations of the genre that you could kind of ask for. They do try and cover quite a lot of different bases on vampires and the mythology, history behind them.
True.
Vampires, to me, when I hear about, when you think vampire, what is it? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Teeth.
Teeth. So basically the
falcon teeth.
And it's the retractable teeth, isn't it? I mean, why would you think vampires needed retractable teeth if they mainly hung out in the night?
Straws, aren't they? The straws.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is, it's like, you hang out in the night. Yeah, right? You're not really kind of like, Well,
they can't stay in the daylight, can they, really?
No, but if you think about most people are out in the daytime, So anyone who was going to clock your fangs might be like, asleep when you're knocking about, right?
Yeah, but you'd be knocking on windows and nipping in there instead
only if you
of
get
anyone
permission,
on the street.
because you do need permission.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
To enter any dwelling of anybody there, they've got to kind of gain permission to enter any threshold. Yeah. As far as the vampire
legend
goes.
Because all these, because as far as I'm aware, there's extra things being added on throughout, the centuries, but that could be for an actual purpose. A real reason for it, or it's just the Chinese whispers.
Well, there's loads of different types of vampires. I'm just trying to find the because these
list.
Yeah, the list is ridiculously long, and I mean when you kind of
so
think
about. So you all think of one vampire, wouldn't you? Really, like Count Dracula, right? There's the main man. Yeah, he's got a few like soldiers. Go out and do a little bits and bobs, and then you got like
you're going out on a few errands.
Yeah, Go down to the shop and get you some margarine or something. You know what I mean? And then, but with loads of them. How do you mean? As in?
Well, I'm trying to get to it. So all right, okay. So going through the list, you've got empathic vampires, which use sort of like. Basically, these are kind of closely related to emotional vampires.
All right.
The empathic vampires do not feed on human blood itself, but empathic vampires feed on emotions and
like
feelings.
Fear and stuff like that.
Yeah. So they're able to, bring sort of humans to an emotional level and then feed off that energy. So, like I say, in what we do in the shadows, there is there's an energy vampire, who is a day walker. He's able to go out in the day, but I mean, it's like it's debatable at first whether he is actually a vampire or just very boring. You know what I mean? Because he uses the boredom, or he's sort of, long diatribes and talking about things that he knows aren't interesting, but it's to get a kind of like
a reaction so he can suck it out of you.
Their energy. Whereas an empath or an empathic vampire is an emotional vampire, whereas they'll be using, their emotions against you, giving a long-winded story about how like the dogs died and they've been kicked out of the house, and it's like it's draining to listen to because they are emotionally draining.
Well, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and that's an empathic vampire. They're kind of like say more human beings, but are able to kind of use.
So they're more central sense.
Yeah, they've got a more of a kind of like a sensory vampiric sort of
sucking system.
Yeah, if you like.
Yeah.
Whereas, like blood drinkers, also known as sanguine vampires.
Right.
This is a category that comes to mind for most people. When they think of vampires, which is drinking blood,
natural vampire.
Could turn into creatures. Sleep in coffins. Do you know the archetypal vampire that you find in most mythology?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Blood drinking vampires must consume human blood in order to survive.
True.
And can be seen hunting humans to get this blood as a food source.
Yeah.
So this is what you'd see in standard vampire stories.
Christopher Lee
in Dracula.
Yeah.
Whereas other types of vampires, they're generally not like as kind of...
They're not as evil, I suppose. They're a little bit more sneakier.
You've got genetic vampires.
What the...
Right, so a genetic vampire, most commonly... basically, this is a paranormal or a sci-fi genre of vampires.
Okay.
So genetic vampires created in a lab. Yeah. So in the same sense that you might think of like,
from China.
Maybe. Maybe. Vampires that were created from mating a vampire parent with a human parent.
Okay, so crossbreed.
Yeah, so you've got, in the same sense as that if you were to kind of breed a god with a human, so you create a demigod.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
In the same sense, that would be like a genetic vampire, like a half vampire, half breed vampire.
Mm-hmm.
But then you've got kind of vampires like Nosferatu, who are sort of disfigured vampires. So, when you see vampires like Nosferatu, which is the kind of like really long pointy teeth and really quite like gaunt, expression, pale, pasty faces, like often just in a black cloak, but can be kind of seen as like really disfigured and
like halfway through its transition if it was a vampire in its younger days, I suppose.
Well, maybe, because it's weird really how kind of vampires have gone from being this sort of undead Nosferatu sort of ideal to sexy time vampire, where it's like Tom Cruise, or we bring up Tom Cruise most weeks, but this time Tom Cruise is a vampire, right? And it's or anybody who's kind of like, you see,
we can get better victims then, can't
you? Yeah,
well,
this is the thing. I don't agree, right? Because if you're a vampire, right, you got this sort of hypnosis power, you've also got the kind of the overpowering sense of being able to overpower your victim because you're a vampire with extra strength and senses. Why do you need sex appeal thrown in the mix? I mean, if you can kind of bamboozle your prey with a bit of, giving them the glance or the, glimmering them.
Well, hold on.
Then why would you need to be good looking?
It's easy that. Right. Well, if you were a good looking lad, you're not bad looking, but if you were a great looking lad, you have the girls coming to you. So you don't have to go out and get the victim. The victim comes to you.
Well, again, it depends, because I feel like vampire fashion, right, overall, is very capey, right, and a lot of crushed velvet, right? Whereas if you're an immortal being, you move with the times. You're not dressing in your kind of Dickensian outfits. If you, I mean, you might have been born.
Well,
then.
You could do that now, and no one would blink an eyelid. To be honest,
do you know what? You'd just be seen as one of those fucking wouldn't you? Like
people dressed in the 50s, or in top hats and stuff like that, and it's like, well, fair enough. You know what I mean? So nowadays, easy. You know what I mean? You'd be walking around going, oh yeah, I remember them days. Bang, bang, right, victim.
Well,
nice little munch.
You've got insane vampires.
Insane vampires.
Insane
with a membrane.
Also known as Malkavian vampires, I think.
Okay.
I think I pronounced that right. Insane vampires are one of the most common vampires who once were human, who've not handled it very well. And they've ended up going insane because of it. So...
genetic defect in the going over or something. Well, I
suppose it's one of them. It's like, if you
they've had animal blood instead of like human blood, which they're supposed to have.
Well, they are supposed to have human blood, and I reckon they probably survive off animal blood at a push. But like whether that's good for them. I mean, there's a lot of kind of instances where they say that vampires can't partake in human food. Yeah, because that'll kill them or make them sick.
Yeah, it makes them sick.
So there's a lot of kind of things with the vampire genetics and the way that vampires supposedly kind of operate as a being. Yeah. So they're not allowed to partake in human food.
No.
When they cry blood. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
The fangs
That's losing
are retractable.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't understand that. Why would you need to retractable? I mean, I suppose you can kind of like disguise the fact that you're a vampire, but
well, you would think. Yeah.
I feel
like I said, they're a straw, aren't they? If you think about it, they're a straw. You don't have your straw out all the time. When you need your straw comes out.
All right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or in another way.
I only get my straw out when I'm drinking.
Yeah, you want an hard-on, you get an hard-on when you need it, not when you don't need it, you know what I mean?
All right. Very crudely put, but going back to like, sexy time vampires. Sexual vampires are definitely a thing. The most famous of the sexual vampires are the succubuses.
Yes.
Now, there was a lot of the earlier vampires that kind of documented. You've got like Lilith, who was one of the earlier female vampires, and didn't really come up in stories very often up until like the 1800s. But even though vampire stories had been going around.
Oh yes,
but they were mainly men. Yeah, like up until this point. But the female vampires, they always seem to be more demonic. Yeah. A lot more evil, and also called different names. So you've got like the name incubus is succubus. The male vampires feed off that sexual energy of the host humans. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, is it more to do with like the energy vampires are able to kind of feed off their emotions? They're feeding off sexual energy rather than emotional energy, or kind of like boredom, or kind of drawing energy out of them.
Well, in the late 1700s, there was a princess, Elizabeth, her name was, and she was supposed to be a proper evil,
Well, it seems like most of the female vampires in stories are they're painted as the most, demonic.
But the villagers used to send the children to her to learn how to, speak properly, be, up and proper person. And there she used to, like, torture him and, actually take the blood. She preferred having children, but she did, like, hundreds of kids, supposedly.
It's funny you should say about speaking, and funny, like, how to speak properly. Vampires actually have their own language. Many use it. But it's unclear if it's learned or if it's passed down through some sort of genetic memory. The language is also has its own writing system, apparently, which is referred to as vampire glyphs.
Okay.
Yeah. So the vampire language contains some sort of like guttural sounds, which makes it kind of impossible for humans to replicate.
So it's bats do like clicks.
Oh yeah, they
like
do,
that.
Don't they?
Yeah.
It's funny actually, right? Because vampire bats. Yeah. Obviously, they do exist. People
they do, but generally cows and horses are usually there.
There's a vampire frog.
Oh, that's interesting.
As well, yeah. I was looking into some of the animals that are vampiric.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got vampire bats and leeches.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there is a vampire frog that eats small birds and other mammals and stuff like that. Yeah. And actually has kind of folklore surrounding it in places like in Malaysia and other parts of the world. So I'll try and find that in a second. But there is quite a lot. I mean, to go into. I mean, vampires overall.
Yeah.
They date back quite
to Vlad. I would say.
Yeah, I mean,
Vlad the Impaler.
I mean, most people would say that the inspiration for vampires came from Vlad the Impaler, but there are a couple of other people around that time period, and I will say, I mean, you can tell me all about Vlad in a second, because what I'd say is like this all came about in Eastern Europe, around the same time as the witch trials. And it's funny because, like, it's like, well, they got witches, we got something else. And it's like, they were kind of like focused basically all because of missing people, strange markings on and mutilated cattle and other animals. And it starts, the local people start putting two and two together.
Witchcraft.
And they come up with witchcraft or demonic entities and stuff like that. But Vlad the Impaler, I mean, he got his reputation for, like, doing just that. He impaled people. I mean, he wasn't called Vlad the Impaler, though, was he?
Well, he had actually three names. He had Vlad the Impaler, Vlad the Third, and Vlad Dracula.
I think he was known of more than that. I think he actually had a real name as well, to be honest. But, I think, what was it? Come on, let's have a look. Vlad's...
well, he was. Well, they don't exactly know when he was born, but they believe it was 1428 or 1431. He had a dad. They do not know anything about his mother. His dad was Vlad II, or Vlad Dracula, which the reason why he was called Dracula is because of a group called the Order of the Dragon, which was to basically destroy the Ottoman Empire. Because it was between them and Hungary, his country was, and it was all about fighting and trying to save his country, and he's lost his they've lost the country, Vlad II, and he had to send Vlad III, or Vlad the Impaler, into the Ottoman Empire's prison for 5 years. And then when he come out, he went to the leader of the Ottoman Empire and went like, look, I can do this job for you in this country. I know my country, you know what I mean? The people will follow me wherever I go. And then he went in, and then he turned his back on him. And the villagers, any villagers who actually helped him, he obviously staked them, impaled them, and there was actually a forest called the Forest of Impalement, and there was thousands of
Vlad's
bodies.
Heads.
Yeah.
You see, Vlad the Impaler was like kind of quite a gruesome in his methods.
I think he was pushed to it more than anything.
Do you think? There was some shadowy government, maybe.
Yeah, because he was in prison with the Ottoman prisoners, and like he was being trained and all that as well, and they'd killed his father. So when he first got back, he wanted to find out who had betrayed him and killed them. And then when he went out to attack other villages and stuff like that, he would bring back the men, women and children and impale all of them. Or he's also been known when in one of his castles that he invited the whole village to come and have a banquet. They went to the banquet, and that's where he locked the door and burnt every single one of them.
He locked the door and went, "Manners maketh man."
Yeah, but
then threw a pint glass at him.
The thing was, the people of his country at the time, when he first got there, he killed. What was it? He impaired 40 soldiers and 300 kids
on his own. That's like a morning's work.
Well, nah, he'll get his boys to do it. You know,
it's like, do you know what? Right, I'm going to do another 10. Have a bit of a brew.
Well, yeah, but then everyone turned on him. So he went on the run. Basically, got a new army, come back in and like frightened people with all these. But he loved it. He loved impaling.
He did. It's thought that Bram Stoker named Count Dracula after Vlad Dracula.
Yeah.
Also known as Vlad the Impaler. Mm-hmm. Who was born in Transylvania, in Romania, and he ruled from on and off from 1456 to 1462.
Yeah.
So
because they still don't know where his body is, because they believe he either died in battle or he was betrayed but and they don't exactly know the date that he actually died. They think it was 1476 or 1477.
Well, I've got a story about one of the first stories of a vampire.
Yeah.
Well, I've got this story which goes back to like 1579, which is one of the first stories of a vampire.
Yeah.
Comes out of Croatia, and it's maybe the first person described as a vampire in historical records, and it refers to Stigori. Yeah, right. Which is a local word for somebody who resembles a vampire and or a warlock. All right. So in this small town, around about 1658, due to illness, this guy died. Right.
Right.
So they buried him. They basically went, had a service, all the rest of it. The guy's laid to rest. Then apparently he comes knocking at the door, of one of his relatives.
Okay.
Or some, and he's, every time he knocks on or gets kind of involved with someone or speaks to somebody in the family ends up dying of this sort of like really kind of horrific death, and these
mysterious death.
This goes on for 16 years. Right, so the villagers are getting a bit kind of like, concerned, and after 16 years of death, they decide that enough's enough, and they want to try and work out what's going on.
Yeah.
So the villagers named Gregorio, or whatever the guy was called, like the cause for it and the reason why this has been going on for so long. So they go to the priest and they say, "Look, we know it's our relative or whatever, the guy who died, and we've got an idea who it is." Right. And they see him in the village. Yeah. So they go and try to confront him, and one of the villagers go to stab him in the chest with a stake.
Right.
Yeah? Okay. But his skin's so tough that it doesn't even penetrate. Yeah. And basically the priest comes over, starts waving his cross, and starts chanting verse from the Bible, which makes this entity flee. Right.
Okay.
So the next day they go, right, we've got to do something about this. We're going to go to the grave and we're going to dig it up. Right. Yeah. So they get down there, they exhume the grave, and they find a perfectly preserved corpse
after 16
years. Yeah. So they think something's going on here. Right. So they go to stab with a sharpened stake through the heart this time.
Right.
But again, it splinters and doesn't penetrate.
Okay,
so they work out that the neck was a lot, pliable. They were able to kind of cut at the neck.
Yeah, at least slow him down.
Yeah, so they kind of like throw in holy water. They're kind of trying to stake this corpse. They cut the head off, and as they cut the head off, it releases a big screech as if to, it was extinguishing its life.
Okay.
Yeah, and after that, there was no more problems. Yeah, and over the years, there's been loads of kind of like instances where people convinced that these, loved ones or people who just died were going to come back, where they'd kind of, booby trap the coffins by putting sharpened stakes on the lid. And,
I told you in the news last week.
Turning themselves over. So, the idea being that if they were face down, when they did arise from the grave, they'd
be
go
digging
straight
out the wrong way.
Well, they'd be going straight to hell, is what the thinking was behind it.
Okay, yeah, I like it.
So there's loads of different methods of trying to dispose of a vampire. And I feel like, I love when I see these vampire killing kits on eBay, and, you see them up for auction, and it's like, someone's made that, but it's such a great little novelty to have. And whether they were used legitimately for vampire slaying,
we
Buffy,
we don't want anyone to go out there and sharpen up some sticks and think, oh, you know what, he might be a fucking vampire. I'm going to have that.
That guy at the end of the street looks a bit dodgy, and he only comes out at night.
Knife attack, and my excuse is a vampire.
Loads of cats going missing in the area. But I mean, that was one of the first sort of incidences of documented cases of vampirism. But I like to think that these things must come from somewhere. And like I said, in terms of like...
no smoke, we're on fire.
Well, no, because it's like with the witchcraft, the Salem witch trials, you know, any of the witch trials, like basically it was like mass hysteria. You know, people start getting into this sort of crazy way of thinking that they're in danger, and like, you know, mob mentality takes over. To the point where innocent people are getting dragged from the homes, and it's like in the same respect.
Oh yeah. I mean, need some targets to attack, and I can't quite. Well, I can see how by doing that as well, you're pushing it underground. So if there was vampires out there, at a certain point, I should imagine, as they're dwindling down in numbers, that, you know,
well, how do you know that they aren't, like, you know, need to go underground, like just being underground? I mean, are vampires kind of, because this is the thing, you know, you never see real evidence to suggest. Yeah,
because is it true or not? And that's where we want to really get to. I mean, we did the news the other week where someone had set a trap across the neck in case it did wake up, and it had fangs and stuff like that, and it was there's a lot to say on why certain people do to certain events, you know, like putting stuff on graves and that. They must have been so frightened of what was going on at the time, but then could it have been something else? There's another question. Could it have been something else, and they're only blaming something that, you know, possibly imaginary? You know what I mean? Like, or someone who, you know, just doesn't fit in with the rest of the crowd, the village idiot and stuff like that. You know, it's one way of getting rid of a nuisance person. You know what I mean?
What, by just making him... Yeah, he's a vampire.
Well, it happened in the witch trials, you know what I mean? They turn around and go, well, I seen her push that without her hands. Yeah, she used her feet. But you didn't see that, but you thought she pushed it with her hands, and now she's a witch. So now you're going to go at the trial, right, either burn or drown, you know what I mean? And there's no way out of either of them, unless you're a good bucket swimmer.
Yeah, potentially. I was saying about kind of different cultures having vampires.
Yeah.
Malaysian Pengalang, haunts people, apparently. This is a story about haunts pregnant women and newborns. So, you know, this is kind of...
2 for 1 deal?
This is from 2020 as well. So this is quite a
recent one,
a
right,
recent story. So a young mother is rocking a newborn to sleep when suddenly a small... the smell of vinegar is in the air. She quickly pulls open the curtains, and sure enough, there's a disembodied head of a woman floating just outside the window. So this is the idea that there's a certain breed of vampire that is able to disembark a head.
I was going to come up to that.
Well, because all these sort of like ideas that they can turn into other animals or they turn into bats.
Yeah.
Right. So in Malaysia, their kind of idea of a vampire is this disembodied head which it detaches from its body.
Yeah.
Right. And then goes off hunting, and then he's able to reattach, creating its full form. But you're able to kind of like use garlic or any of these sort of things to kind of ward it off. Apparently, it's if you can kind of get garlic onto the body, then it can't reattach its head. But they do kind of like, you know, soar around, flying through the skies, a head soaring above the rest of everyone. But obviously, it's a kind of a vampire creature that by night detaches its head and organs from its body and goes hunting for humans.
I wonder if they have are regular, you know, vampires there as well, or that kind of vampire is in that area. Because there are kind of, in different countries, there are kind of, you know, little mixed messages or a little bit, you know, different here and there. I mean... And if there is an actual breed of vampires, does that mean there could be like several different breeds?
Well, like I say, these supposedly. I mean, if you're arguing that vampires exist, then by the sounds of it, there seems to be quite a lot of variations of it. Whether they are all the same thing, or they're just being categorized because of the traits that they seem to have, like, drinking blood or, hunting humans or any of these type of things, and sleeping throughout the day and, having an aversion to light or garlic or whatever, then they would fall into the category of vampires. I mean, like, vampires to us are what we've kind of been portrayed in media. But maybe it's these sort of like and little films. Animals. Films, media, TV shows, stories. But when maybe that's where these come from, these sort of like, you'll take all the attributes of something that is quite terrifying, that there are literally animals out there that do drink your blood and quite dangerous. Yeah,
true.
But to kind of take those attributes and put them into a predator of like somebody
a human
predator is kind of more intimidating. It's more dangerous, like you say. So, maybe the idea that you might have found a body and it had weird markings on it, that you were kind of think, well, it is a reasonable explanation, and we can say, well, it was a vampire frog or a vampire bat or a vampire a leech or whatever, or to some that we don't even know about, but.
Could it be a next level from zombie? Because spreading by
because
biting.
By biting, of course,
by
it is.
spreading like a disease, so it's grown from like.
I
kind of
see where you're coming from there, where it's like in terms of like a zombie's like the bottom of the barrel in terms of brains, whereas like a vampire, it's a similar infection.
It's the next evolution up from it.
It's a spread of an infection that creates and turns a normal human being into one of their own, which a vampire and a zombie would do, I should imagine. I can see where you're coming from. That is a good question.
But then that would mean there have to be zombies.
Well, I mean, would have to be any of this stuff. Do you know what I mean?
True. An extra connection to it.
It's all folklore, isn't it, at the end of the day? And like I say, whether you're talking about vampires, werewolves, witches, zombies, obviously supernatural creatures, we've always kind of had these supernatural creatures in our folklore. We're not the first to talk about them. No. And, I mean, although it sounds a bit kind of like daft sometimes when you're talking like, talking like the real...
Yeah, but quite a lot of that's come through the history and a long time. But in a lot
of ways, they are real. Like they're real in the sense that in our imagination, we have made them real because there's so much text information
from the
and
past,
sort of history, languages.
Yeah, that's it. And
whether actually real vampires exist in the real world is another story.
It might be just these little bits and bobs are a connection to a new kind of form of life that we didn't realise or still don't realise. I mean, it's the same, I suppose, with Bigfoot. That could have been, the next another evolution from the ape. That could have been in a different direction, and it's had to hide itself. Or it could be like giants. It could be one of them that disguise themselves. They don't want a haircut. You know what I mean? Keep themselves like. Incognito, I suppose. I mean,
if you were kind of like in a
because we don't know everything about this planet, you know what I mean? We believe we do, and they could be, for all we know, there could be people walking through us and like a totally different species. I mean, we talk about like aliens and stuff like that as well, you know what I mean? The stories that come out about underground, hidden away or hidden in caves and stuff like that. This is, I suppose, another part of that is how many actual species of humanoid are there actually on this planet? Is it just us, or are we being too blindsided and thinking that everything else that doesn't exactly look like us is something, a monster or some kind of legend of like past and present, where realistically they might be still living as now, but in a in a way that they don't want to be forefront. They want to be hidden in the past and leave it there. Well, because they know what happens if they do come from.
Looking back into terms of stuff that's available and historical archives of vampires and stuff like that. They show up in the Bible, according to some people. It depends on how you what your interpretation is. But according to biblical scholars, the Aku, which means bloodlusting monster or vampire, Aku is first referred to in Proverbs 30 in the Bible.
Right, okay.
So, that goes back quite far.
At least 3,000 years.
Yeah, totally. These are it's weird because it's almost like with it there being so much fiction, right? Yeah. And then obviously these historical accounts of people believing that these people are vampires, or saying, actually, no, this is a historical account. We believe that this actually happened and the people involved were real.
The Vatican need to open up their archives and so do all the museums on this kind of stuff.
So when you think of vampires, what's another name that's usually attached with the myth of Dracula or vampires generally? Do you think?
Devil.
Well, no, I'd say Van Helsing.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you've got to have a bad guy, you've got to have a good guy there as well.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's but Van Helsing, actually, some people, and again, biblical scholars and a few kind of people who are very into the topic, say that Van Helsing is actually the Archangel Gabriel, and he'd been sent by God to fight off and kill the demons, which are the succubuses, the incubuses, the vampires, and
but then follows down the bloodline.
Well, potentially, or is actually the archangel. Yeah, but in terms of Van Helsing, he is a made-up fictional character in Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah,
but there's evidence to suggest that he might have been based on a real person. So obviously,
you had the witch catchers, didn't you? And you had troops as well. You had certain you'd call the home guards for this kind of incidents that people have been spotted. You have at least an investigation unit, so you might have one of them ones who are that good.
Well, yeah, well, totally. Yeah, well, this guy, he basically said that Stoker modelled Van Helsing on a Lutheran pastor named Helwig, who 300 years ago studied vampires and werewolves.
Right.
So there is potential that he just kind of took that inspiration and thought, well, he just studied it, but what if he was this Indiana Jones style kind of hunter? Yeah.
True, you need an action hero, don't you, really?
Exactly. So maybe he was written as an action hero, but, based on this guy. But in terms of the family tree, like I say, if you start looking into it, you'll start finding a Van Helsing family tree, which that makes me think: is that mean that the actual family, or there is a family, and any
there's got to be a few
one of those,
under that name.
It's any people mentioned in this book, rather living or dead, is merely coincidental. They don't want any people coming back and suing them.
Yeah, totally. But don't forget as well, over generations, names get changed. So we could have lost the Van Helsing, and they're actually named something else now than what they were back then.
Maybe to change the name, moved to a different continent and changed the name.
Well, look, the Royals did it. You know what I mean? You could do it anywhere.
Yeah, we're going to be known as the Windsors from now on. It sounds a bit too German.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So, there will be, because there would have been wars and that, and if you want to move back into a certain country, you'd need a certain specified name. You could change your name at any point. You had no birth certificates. You know what I mean? And the birth certificates give a prominent point that that is your name now. Where back in the day, you could just have a different name in different villages everywhere.
Yeah, I suppose that's it by law now, isn't it? Because you got your given name. Back to your vampires. Where do you stand in it? Would you say I mean, have you heard any other legends that you found quite interesting? Because I kind of kept getting redheads coming up.
Redheads?
Yeah, redheads were seen
what's your redhead?
Seen as the more likely to come back from the dead.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
right.
And I don't know why that is, but like something in mythology or something in like folklore.
So should stake them before they go down.
Yeah, well, this is what I'm saying. There was a lot of kind of preparation going into making sure that your loved ones didn't come back from the dead.
Well, it's a new gene, like, you know what I mean? So
prevention.
Yeah,
so I mean, you never know. But if you did have like an uncle who was a redhead and he passed away, you'd be like, stick a few spikes in there just in case.
Just shove some across his neck just in case.
But I mean, in terms of like media, it's been milked, really, hasn't it? The vampire sort of.
Well, yeah, because there's a lot of people out there who love that kind of.
No,
stuff.
I mean, I like a good vampire story, and like
definitely.
And
Fairly old movies, though.
I feel like they've gone from being more scary
dramatic
to very comedy, more kind of something to poke fun at, and it works. So because it is quite a lot of the things are quite like easy to kind of poke fun at, I suppose. But like in terms of like
area,
the idea of something creeping in the night and being able to kind of manipulate you
into with boogeyman and all,
shadows, shadow
in
monsters,
the night,
all these types of stuff. I mean, I feel like with the idea that there are creatures out there that can do the things that are the characteristics of a vampire. That
it's not
maybe these things have been cross-translated or whatever, but like
I don't think it's a never. I think it's there's a possibility. I don't know what 10%.
There's a lot of people who identify. I mean, if you want to go into what you identify as, there's quite a few people who do identify as vampires.
You know what? I was literally. You remind me. I was just about to turn into about that. Yeah. So effectively, we do have vampires.
Yeah,
and we have had people who claim they're vampires and have actually.
I remember going into like the Colosseum or the Affleck's Palace in Manchester.
Yeah.
And even before that, Corn Exchange, and there'd be like porcelain vampire teeth that you could buy.
Yeah.
And I'd go to like Rockworld or like Gillies, and there'd be people wearing them, and they took themselves very seriously. And it's like I always thought they're quite cool. Yeah, because they're porcelain and they're like, obviously, they're not just plastic teeth. Like, they are very quite, you've got to be quite committed to the whole I'm a vampire.
I think we've answered the question now, to be honest. Is there any vampires? Yeah, there is. Yeah, there's definitely vampires now.
Whether they do practice, vampiric.
I know, I've heard the stories that of places where, and in Europe, of places where people have actually done bitten, taken blood and just drink blood and stuff like that. So there is.
I'd say that there is a small percentage of people who aren't genetic vampires who do that. Yeah, human beings, right?
Yeah, genetic ones.
Whether
we're
genetic,
still on the level on that.
You rather turned or.
Yeah.
I mean, are vampires born vampires? Could two vampires get it on and create a little baby vampire?
Well, no, I'd say no, because they're dead. They're dead from the waist down.
Well,
you might be able to have fun.
Sexy time.
You know what I mean? You need blood to keep that going. You know what I mean? So, and I don't think you'd be it may be test tubing.
Okay, right.
Test tube, possibly, but I don't think naturally.
I think we've covered quite a lot. I think we're good to call that a night on vampires. But I will say, I mean, in terms of like media, what would be the worst thing to happen to the vampires?
Sun coming up.
I'd say Twilight.
Fuck off with that.
That Twilight is one version of the vampire that I'm not down with. Sparkly vampires, yeah, right. Who can go out in the day and just a bit. And
I know there's going to be shitloads of fans
glum,
out there.
A bit glum. You know what I mean?
But that ain't my cup.
It's not my cup of tea.
Nah. You're going over the top with that. You know what I mean? That's entertainment. That's not like. Like the old films.
Well, no, it's all entertainment.
It's entertainment, but entertainment with a bit of spice in it.
I think when you're getting into your old Hammer horror movies, then it's dark and kind of moody. And
which is supposed to be, the music's right, the scripts are right for it.
Yeah, totally. They're supposed to kind of be foreboding and really quite like
Not like, let's have a party.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go to school.
What happens to you when you go in the moonlight? Yeah. Oh, I sparkle.
Yeah,
it's like, no, that's not. That's not a vampire in my book. I mean, True Blood was pretty great. If you've never seen that, get on that. True Blood's a pretty.
Vampires Diaries as well.
I'd say True Blood's quite a good take on it because, like, it's vampires have come out of the shadows and they're basically trying to get into the mainstream society. Yeah. But one of the things they've got to stop doing is drinking human blood. Yeah. So they bring out a synthetic blood
I think I've seen
called
this.
True Blood. It's HBO. It's soft porn at best. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's got Rogue, the girl who plays Rogue from the X-Men movies. She's one of the lead roles in it. And it's good. It's a good watch. I'd definitely watch it. Vampire movies. What's your favourite vampire movie?
I can't remember the fucking name of it, but it was the one where there's a vampire protecting this guy who was bitten by a vampire, but then bitten by a werewolf, and it turned into like a super.
Super vampire. Yeah, well, you've got Blade, haven't you?
Yeah, I think it was Underworld. I think it was because I've got all 5, and I think the storylines are pretty gritty. I'm pretty good for the the second, third, and fourth, but the future one was like, yeah, you're going a bit over the top now.
I think one of my favourite vampire movies of all time, though. If you're gonna watch a vampire movie tonight,
it's got to be Dracula.
Well, Dracula's
got to be Dracula.
Dracula's up there, yeah, but From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah, you know what?
George Clooney,
and I like his tattoo.
Quentin Tarantino and Danny Trejo. It is such a great movie. It is, and it starts totally not how you expect it to start because it starts like a heist or like a kidnapping. Yeah. And then it all hell breaks loose.
Come and have a break. Come and have a dance.
If you've not watched it, definitely check out Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah, it's definitely a classic movie.
Definitely check out What We Do in the Shadows. Don't watch Twilight.
No. And if you have, we're sorry.
We apologise.
Whoever made it.
I've never seen it. But anyway, moving on. Yeah, and as I think, like, anyway, if you got any questions, queries, or, comments about tonight's episode, or if you think we missed anything, or you've got anything cool to add.
There's a lot to it.
There is so much to do with vampires. It's not even funny.
A little sliver.
But if you've got anything you'd like to add, we'll shout you out next week if you've got something interesting to add. Well, we're moving on with the show because we've got some news to go through.
We have.
And I think that's coming up right about now. It's a newsy news.
What a
We've got
newsy
news.
day.
It's been a newsy week.
It's been a newsy
and we've found mostly news that you've probably heard, maybe you've not.
Yeah, probably you might have. You would have heard at least a couple.
I think there's a couple that you will have heard of because obviously it's been a bit of a mental week. What is going on in this world at the moment? Yeah,
shit house, isn't it, mate?
It is
it's
a fucking shit show.
Could
it's
go.
like
if it can, it will.
Who put these people in charge is what I wonder.
Us?
Yeah. Well, no, not necessarily, because I think we worked it out that we're coming up on our 5th Prime Minister. Yeah, and we've only voted 2 of them in. Like, you know what I mean? So I mean, no, we didn't ask for this.
Shit show,
right? So we'll say that we did not ask for this.
No.
I feel like the whole Liz Truss debacle over the last couple of weeks. I see it more like it was. Like a Wonka golden ticket sort of scenario where all the Conservative MPs were approached by Slugworth, the banker, who said, if you can get bankers' bonuses lifted, we'll give, in terms of, can you get us an everlasting gobstopper?
She's made some money.
And then she did it and ran. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And there's even talk of the fact that she, Prime Ministers get like I was an ex-Prime Minister payment of about £155,000.
Yeah.
And
she'll get £1 million worth of security.
Whoa. No, she's not done the job long enough. I don't think
that's what a Prime Minister gets.
Like when you've worked in an office for a couple of weeks and it's like you think that you're going to get invited to the Christmas party. You know what I mean?
You get sacked when you get bonus after bonus after bonus.
You know, I don't know if she's, you know, she can say, I've done a big, you know, a stint. And
I'll be up to 1921 committee, to be honest, to see, because they're trying to change the rules.
But that's not even
I think this has all been done deliberately.
This isn't
to keep
even
our attention.
The biggest news coming out of it. No. It's the fact that Boris Johnson's thrown his name back in
Boris.
To the race. I just feel like, you know, the guy's got like, you know, investigations hanging over his head.
True, but nothing's he's not been charged yet.
Not yet, but no. I mean, all right then. So worst case scenario, he takes back on the premiership, and then a couple of months down the line, he's, you know, charged with what he's being investigated for.
Well, he won't get charged until he's not a prime minister no more.
Right, okay, so so what? He hangs in there for the next 2 years and then gets charged when he's not the Prime Minister, or does he get outed again? Like, honestly, I can't see.
It would have paid off by the time.
It was only a couple of weeks ago we were saying how much of a fucking imbecile he was and he needed to be removed, right? I mean, they're talking about conservative U-turns, right? This could be the biggest conservative U-turn of all time. I honestly feel like, what does it really? I mean, they need somebody in power, or somebody taking the helm. But
we got no one there who could do the job.
It's a case of the Conservative government or the party haven't got as many people. They're losing party members like fucking here, there, and every, you know, left, right, and centre. It's not a case of that they can effectively lead this country anymore. It's a fact that they're just looking at whoever can do the job can maybe do the job. And it's like these aren't people who, if they were in an election year, and up for office legitimately, no fucker would vote for them, and it's like they wouldn't even be entertained. So what makes you think that they're going to do a good job now? Boris has proven he can't do a good job, and he's just going to take. What attitude do you think he's going to have? You think I was making deals with my mates before? You've already shown me what you think of me, so I'm going to make double deals. That's the way I see it. I think he'd be more watched, though. I just don't feel like he's going to be kind of playing the game properly. And
no one who stepped in that position has anyway. They've all gained from it, and we've all lost from it. And yet we pay for the privilege, and yet they're spending money willy-nilly. Like they've got 1,134.
You should never spend money willy-nilly
going out to different places. You know what I mean? They've added on to the purse when we need to be shutting it down.
Well, I feel like the Conservative Party have had their day now. I feel like, you know, although I don't agree with it, like a general election would be a good thing, in terms of bringing some sort of order to I know it is totally.
Last year, same
bringing
December.
Some sort of semblance to a government and have a working government that's actually firing on all cylinders and doing the job.
Bring everyone new ones in.
Well, again, you know, South Park said it best. It's the choice between a douche and a turd sandwich, and we don't want either of them. It's like, why not bring in one of these, you know, a party that is an established party, but hasn't had the chance to, you know, do the job, and see how they fare. Do you know what I mean? It's like, give them that chance and see what they can't do a worse job than fucking these guys have done. So let's face it.
But that's why they're in the elections. If people believe in what they're saying, then they would be there. But obviously, there's not a lot of people who are voting.
Like you were saying about like first to the post.
First to the post. As soon as we get rid of that, then we can get rid of Labour and Conservatives, and we can bring someone else in. But until that happens,
because this is it. It seems like most people feel like they're the only options, and they are pretty much in terms of seat numbers and majority, you know, seats in the House. But it's a funny one. I feel like in the UK alone, the UK's kind of like had a very turbulent couple of months in terms of like things going on that are super beyond my pay grade.
Yeah, especially after the Queen's death as well. After all that kind of, you know, getting together and, you know, join as one, and, you know, the nations are all together, and now we're all getting split up again because, like, we're all financially fucked, or the government isn't working.
It's not a case of just being financially fucked. It's a case of when people like your Liz Truss comes in and they don't make it better for the average working person. They sweeten the deals for
the rich,
which the
rich want to give.
It works out if you earn $1 million a year under this new under this idea that Liz Truss put into place. That if you earn $1 million a year, you would be £55,000 better off a year. Yeah. If you earn minimum wage, you'd be £50 to £100 better off a year.
Fuck all
it's like literally makes no sense that like the lowest income earners are not being helped, and when food banks are fucking being opened. There was actually one on the news the other day, and they had like a load of like officials there, all laughing and smiling and joking, opening a food bank and then tucking into a buffet that they'd provided, I'm assuming, with food bank food. Yeah, and he's like, another piece of raspberry tart, please. You know what I mean? And it's like shoving his face.
Years ago, the food bank should have been dealt with, and now it's a regular. It's regular. It's a non-discussion really, because it doesn't get discussed. And if it don't get discussed, it ain't gonna get fucking done.
It's interesting because I know these places do help a lot of people out. And we'd be screwed without them. So I'm not knocking food banks. I'm saying that we shouldn't need them in the first place. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think they agree as well that we don't need it. We're like the 5th fucking richest nation, and yet look at all the shit that's happening. Or because we've left Brexit and Europe ain't telling us what the fuck to do. We've put the power back into the hands of the actual politicians, and they ain't got a fucking clue.
Yeah.
So it's like, and they want to go back to Labour wants to go back to Europe so they could get told. So when we turn around and go, what about this, and this, they go and ask Europe.
There's actually a thingy, a protest to rejoin happening on Saturday. Today, actually. Yeah, in London.
You get knobheads out, you know what I mean?
Anyway, moving on. Who will be the Prime Minister next week? We'll let
Boris.
you know. We'll let you know.
Boris, I reckon.
I don't think it'll be Boris. Do you want to bet?
I bet 10p that it's Boris.
Right, I will take that bet.
Right.
I'm going to go with Sunak. But I'm not. I wouldn't want any of them. I mean, there's about 5 names on the list. I don't even know who they are.
I want the female one.
Which one? Penny.
Penny. Yeah.
Yeah. You see, I don't even know who she is.
I don't know much about her, but the way
there you go.
The way it comes across, she's a strong contender.
When they're just literally scraping the bottom of the barrel. At the
all
moment.
backbenches and
going into Russia.
Oh,
right. We're going to move into the colder, barren tundras. Into Rushka. Where basically, do you know, they're drafting people up over there?
Yeah.
Which I don't agree with, actually, because I feel like most of them don't want to go. Do you know what I mean? They're like, nah.
True.
I don't agree with this.
Then cross the line and give up.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, just surrender when you get over the other
troops that have already done that, and I bet there's going to be more.
Well, basically, because he's asking people to kind of join. Yeah. So basically, a lot of Russian mothers and ex-wives, have taken this as a bit of a fucking a saving grace, really, like a bit of a loophole.
Oh, right, okay.
Because scorned Russian mothers are using Putin's draft to out-rat ex-husbands.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so basically,
like
because he's trying to draft people up, right, the idea behind it is a load of women have started kind of like going, well, he's not been paying me my child support or whatever, right? Claiming he's got no money, right? So if he's in the army, and gets drafted up, then I assume he's going to get paid something, right?
His bank account.
Which will go into a government-paid known bank account, known about by the courts, right? Yeah, which
so
means
someone's paying,
so he can't hide it, right? Yeah, and he's got to pay his alimony.
Back pay, he's going to be doing it for fuck all.
So I mean, something's coming out
of
it.
Really?
Obviously, Putin didn't intend that, but I mean, Putin's speech, the idea came to one woman to say when a ex-husband goes to war, he'd get paid because he is obviously getting official payment into his bank account. which he cannot hide from the courts.
Oh, power to them. The child needs to be supported, and the father should.
I got 10 kids to feed. My kids need nights.
Yeah. Well, you should have put it away after the first or second one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I've got this next story, right? Yeah. Right. I believe this is I feel like this grandmother's been watching Breaking Bad.
All right. Okay.
So this comes about as an Athens grandmother has been convicted of trafficking meth.
Oh, granny.
Yeah, I mean, she's 52, so I mean, it's not granny. She's not like 85 or anything like that, but she's definitely Athens is Walter White Wilma White, as she's been convicted by federal jury of trafficking methamphetamines, resulting in an investigation and subsequent arrest, during which she and the co-defendant attempted to flee. So she's tried to bail. Law enforcement had to catch her and her 2-year-old grandchild in a car.
Well, I think it's right that they caught them if they were doing it for profit, but if they were doing it to survive, then no. Well, but it's a justice system. If you're going to do a crime, expect to do the time if you get caught. Well,
there was a co-defendant, which was Corey Gleam or Greesome. Sorry, I'm really terrible with pronouncing people's names. But basically, he was from Athens as well. He's pleaded guilty and faces a maximum sentence of 40 years in prison and a $5 million fine.
Boy,
that's a lot of meth.
Yeah,
must have been trafficking quite a lot.
Yeah. Anyway. I'll be signing for war on that one. Send me over.
There's a lot of people doing a lot of dodgy stuff at the moment. Have you got anything else you want to talk about?
Some people have to, though, because, just to survive, the economic at the minute is...
We'll say that. I'll tell you a story in a moment, but have you got anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, a new... Basically, the fire department in the UK is changing their rule book for for female firefighters.
I seen something about this the other day. So go on. What was it? Give me some more info.
They're changing the weight that the females need to carry, or so if they can't carry themselves, how the fuck are they supposed to get into a fire and carry someone else out? Because there's no restriction.
I see. So,
so 17 stone fucking...
right. So, okay. So, so this sounds quite a negative change, in the sense that they're not...
And it's not against the female firefighters. We should
I totally get that. I understand that.
There needs to be certain standards, and if they slip, people are going to get hurt.
I suppose in terms of like life or death situations, I mean, I understand what you're saying, right? Now, if you can prove that you can totally lift that much, then more power to you, you crack on with the job.
Yeah.
But if you are kind of like unable to get someone in a fireman's lift and get them out of a burning building safely, not in endangering yourself, the person who you're trying to rescue, or your colleagues, then potentially, you are right. They do need to look at the restrictions of weight and how heavy you are in relation to being able to do the job safely.
There's no point doing the job if you cannot do the job. You know what I mean? You can do parts of the job.
So has there been any kind of kickback from this, or have they been mainly like agreement within the fire services? Do because I mean, I assume that there are a lot of... If you are a lady firefighter, happy days. I mean, and thank you for your service and doing everything you do. If you've got something you'd like to add to this, then we'd love to hear from you, because obviously... Or have
you got a group together to like try and fight this out? Because it's for your safety. Is it a case of that up until now you felt that you kind of couldn't perform that aspect of the job if necessary? I think it's a recruitment drive kind of thing.
And if... that's kind of put your mind at ease in terms of that that you're not going to be expected to be able to do it.
Yeah.
But in that sense, does that mean that there's going to be less female firefighters, or are they going to basically turn around and say, you're too small, you can't do the job, we're not going to hire you at all? Or is there kind of like an avenue of...
might give them I hate to say this, but a lower level of work
responsibility
and the whole
I don't know. I mean,
you're still going to need strength to hold the hose. You have to have two anyway.
Yeah, it is kind of an interesting one. Like I say, if you work for the fire service or a bit more about this, let us know because I mean, like, it is kind of like although we're trying not
things
to...
Things are slacking.
Well, no, because it's like... You're trying to say, well, I'm not trying to be sexist in the sense that I believe that anyone who is willing and able to do the job...
Yeah, if a man's the same, exactly the same.
I mean, it's like you're kind of like you're not a big guy, you're not a hench guy, but again, if you went for a firefighter job, I'd expect that you should be able to... lift somebody out and be able to help, rescue somebody who's a bit bigger than you maybe or a bit heavier than you.
I would think that it's
I don't think that's just something that applies to women. I think that should be applying to men and women across the board, and I don't think that that's I think that's not unreasonable. I feel like it should apply
for the person first, the firefighter first, before the actual...
So what's the actual rule change?
The actual rule change is that their weight that they have to carry will be downgraded or gotten rid of. So basically, instead of walking through a fire and grabbing something and coming out like a normal firefighter would, they'd walk in there maybe,
Well, I'd hope that
take a photo or something and then walk out.
Maybe they were more concentrating on putting the fire out rather than running in a burning
but still
building.
The same. You need a certain amount of weight to hold them hoses.
Yeah, but like you say, if there's a couple of you holding it, then you've got a bit. I've got a bit of experience in this, but in terms of holding. Hey, I was going to do some sound effects there, but
But you need. It's a part of the job. You know what I mean? It's like you wouldn't send someone in a field.
It sounds controversial, the whole thing, but it's kind of sensible at the same time. Yeah, I get where you're coming from.
We're forgetting the safety of the first priority is the safety of the firefighter.
Yeah,
male or female, and then and then the
people
person
who are trying to rescue. Yeah, totally.
That's the second. Because if you're going to go in and get yourself injured, what's the
Yeah, exactly. What's the point? Then someone else has got to go in and rescue two people, innit? So,
it just makes
you were saying earlier about kind of people, struggling at the moment and, doing bits for money and stuff.
Yeah,
I've got this story about a middle school student, right, who stole $13K out of the grandparents' safe.
Naughty.
And then started passing it out to kids at school.
What?
So it wasn't like they stole it because they were like, I just want to be popular.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, wasn't stealing it because maybe they did. Maybe they thought my grand's not, got long, or she's like,
she
just wastes money. She buys shit. She buys. She don't buy anything.
Yeah,
she might have thought.
I'll take my
there's
inheritance
kids at my school who could deal, the parents, or they couldn't use the money. Well, whatever the reason is,
that's kind of nice if it is for that, but still, it is theft and. Still, if the situation gets even worse, they need the money. You know what I mean?
Well, this is in Marion County Sheriff's Office. Say a 14-year-old student at Lake Weir Middle School broke into the grandparents' safe and stole around $13,500 in cash, which was half of a grandmother's life savings, which makes it sound like actual horrible shit.
Yeah.
But basically, she'd had a bit left after selling a house, and this was basically all she had left, right?
Yeah.
The sheriff's office says the girl started handing out cash to people in school. Yeah. So it says to me that it might have been a popularity thing, trying to make people like her by gifting money or whatever. True. I don't know.
Or she might be just nice-hearted and she's just done the wrong thing. Well, there are kids out there who can't afford to.
Maybe. I mean, if it is because of those reasons, I mean, you kind of got to admire it, but the way she went about it is
wrong.
Is a bit of a dodgy. She shouldn't have done it that way. But basically, parents got voicemails from the school's principal about the incident on Thursday, asking adults to give their kids a call. So basically, the girl who'd been arrested said that she'd been given the money by a friend who she didn't know when she'd run off.
Yeah.
But other kids were saying, no, it was her who gave it us. So she's ended up, being like,
pointed out
for it. But she was like, basically giving out hundreds of dollars to kids around the school. So basically, the girl was accused of stealing the money, and told deputies that a friend who'd moved away gave her the money. But students who accepted it told the deputies that the girl claimed that she'd got it from her grandparents. So she had basically, but she had permission to give it away. Some students didn't buy it and basically reported it to the administration.
Right.
But obviously some people just kept it.
Though. Yeah.
Some of the kids actually handed in money. And I think around
all of them should.
Well, not all of them, because they actually found $2,500 in the teenager's backpack, of the student who was collared.
10 grand.
And well, two found, so give away 10 grand at least, right, or probably more.
Oh shit.
One student handed in $200, and at least one of them brought $500 back to the front office. So. Still quite a lot missing.
Yeah.
Sheriff's office at the school official basically started asking parents to check with their kids to check if they've got any money, or if anyone's been handed any stolen money, because obviously...
if you got any money, you're getting
Some
searched.
of them thought better and thought, this is obviously dodgy, no one gives away this type of money.
Yeah.
They might have thought, I'm Mr. Beast.
Yeah, well,
Or something, do you know what I mean?
Hey, he's got loads of money, he could help. Bang, bang. Send them a couple of 40 grand or something.
So, I mean, people are kind of like, on, a bit skint at the moment.
Yeah.
But, I mean, in terms of like, doing that sort of thing, these just don't do it.
No.
Especially to your grandparents' life savings.
Yeah, and don't forget, unless it's a corporation, there's a victim. And you shouldn't have a victim at the end of it. If it's a small little shop owner, he's a victim.
So what you're saying is, hit big corporations because they've got insurance.
Yeah, they've got covered. They got money. These small businesses now haven't got the money, to survive at the minute, and half of them are working for no toll. You know what I mean? They're just putting it straight back into the firms and that. So
true.
Hit the big ones, leave the small ones alone.
Yeah, do you know? Talking about big corporations.
Yeah.
One of the world's richest men, he's actually the second richest man, has had to sell his private jet. Diddums. Yeah, but this is after Twitter.
So he's still got his yacht?
Probably still got the yacht.
Yeah.
It's can't get rid of the yacht.
Yeah.
It's not a schooner.
I've got to park my helicopter somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, he's had to get rid of his private jets because Twitter activists are tracking every flight. Yeah, and then posting his carbon emissions. So basically, the world's second richest man has had to sell his private jet.
Good.
Because he's being tracked.
Good. They should do it to all the rich. Any plane.
Is it Bernard Altner, who's the CEO of luxury goods company LVMH and co-founder of Louis Vuitton?
Right.
Is worth an eye-watering 140 billion. Yeah, right.
Nice.
But imagine he can't get away from the Twitter sphere, though. That's the thing, because they're just going, he's in his plane again.
You might have money, but you ain't got that much power, mate.
You can't go around spending all this carbon.
Yeah.
So, I
mean,
mean,
we're paying for it.
And that's like the equivalent of like someone going off Facebook, isn't it? And they go, no, I'm not playing anymore. And it's like, well, fuck you, I'm going to sell my jet.
Yeah, I've got to sell it now.
Like you say, I'll just take the helicopter.
Yeah.
I'll take the yacht.
Yeah. Leave the submarine.
I'll just go first class. In it, business class.
It'd be cheaper for him.
It probably would be cheaper.
He can save more money, can't he? You know what I mean?
Still the same amount of carbon emissions, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. So,
I mean, that's pretty funny. Diddums to you. Seen anything else you'd like to talk about?
Have you seen this? It was on Secure 10. This.
I've got to be honest. I've not watched Secure Team for a while.
Yeah.
And
I must admit, I'm hit and missing him at the moment.
Yeah, I used to be religiously on it, and it's. Do you know what? It's one of those things that I never really find time to watch as often anymore. Why go on? What's he saying?
There's a really good video this week of a UFO spotted by a door camera, and it is really, really good. I to be honest myself, when I watched it, first I thought, fake, you know what I mean? That's bullshit. But then looking through it again and looking through the way he does it,
so basically, because it's a Ring doorbell camera or a doorbell camera, other doorbell cameras are available.
Yeah.
But because it's a doorbell camera, you're thinking it's less likely to be like edited or photoshopped. Do you think it could have been made to look like one of these, Well,
that's what I always think when I look at it.
Because whenever it's a doorbell cam, the quality seems to be a bit less than great, and
Well, the thing that mostly attracted about it was there was in front of the door on the left-hand side you had a tree, and on the right-hand side you had a bunch of lights that were on, and this thing come from the top, and it sort of like shined off it, and you can see it actually turning. And the way it turned, and you can actually see behind the tree, the little branches, the little gaps in between, you can actually see little bits of it.
So it kind of so it's a bit more kind of layered rather than being like your average kind of UFO that it's flying behind things and coming in and out of shot.
Yeah, but it's basically one shot from it flying over the lights and then turning. You see it with the turn as well.
You're going to have to post this on Twitter for us, and I'll make sure everybody can have a gander at it.
Yeah, I'll sling that on.
Yeah, definitely, because, that's something that it seems really kind of intriguing, and if you're saying that it's got legs, I'd like to see it.
I think it's got quite a bit of legs on it.
It's got long, luscious legs.
It's like a little
Legs.
millipede.
It's like the human centipede.
Yeah. Oh, no.
With legs.
Good film.
You don't know about that?
No. I've never seen the second one either.
Well, I'll tell you what is good. The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Yeah.
You are?
The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. The staple of the childhood.
Still around?
I do believe that the childhood Power Rangers are still around. The 90s superheroes. Employees at a restaurant in Oakland have been dressing up like Power Rangers. It's a new restaurant and in East Bay, and it's basically got a bit of media attention this week when employees sprung into action and became real-life Power Rangers.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
They saved a woman who was being attacked, right? Yeah. And the whole incident was documented on a viral series of tweets by a woman who was just sat having dinner. Yeah. So basically, out of nowhere, all the employees sprung into action to fight off an attacker whilst dressed like Power Rangers. Yeah. What? So, according to the woman's tweet thread, which has her husband, hundreds of thousands of impressions, everyone seems to jump into action and de-escalate the situation. So they were able to kind of go true Power Ranger, yeah, right, and actually save this woman. God knows what.
Did they destroy the city?
No,
at the same time? No, they didn't in the machines.
Listen, they went, it's morphing time, yeah, and then they were fucking on it, yeah, right. And
Power Rangers.
They didn't get the Zords out, thankfully, because that's when cities get destroyed.
Yeah,
but
we don't want that.
The tweet read, the craziest things just happened at dinner. I'm at ramen shop owner by Thai people in Oakland. I'm at a ramen shop, so a noodle shop, which is owned by Thai people in the Oakland area.
Yeah.
And on Fridays they dressed as Power Rangers. When one woman came in rushing and saying that she wasn't safe, a man came in running after her and put her in a chokehold.
Oh shit!
So that's when the staff,
basically, that's when they went Power Rangers.
That's when they morphed and obviously did a bit of parkour over the tables and whatnot and saved the day. Well, guys.
Yeah.
It's good that I like the fact that
everyday superhero.
It's the outfit. Yeah, it's like they say clothes don't make you man. Do you know what I mean? Like, but. If you were dressed as Spider-Man or a Power Ranger or any other superhero, I'm sure you'd feel a bit more confident.
Well, I don't know about
Maybe
that.
not in the genital area, because, these tights are a bit kind of revealing. But,
it's cold outside.
It's cold out at the moment. But what I'm getting at is, if you're dressed like Superman, you're going to have a bit of a better posture about you.
Yeah, you walk around like, I'm King Kong, man.
Yeah, you're not. You're Superman. But, if you're dressed like King Kong, you're King Kong.
Well, yeah, dress up in an outfit like that,
who would you dress up as to save the day?
Save the day?
If you were in, in a situation where you had to kind of do a quick costume change, who would you go for? What would be your first costume that springs to mind?
Oh, it's got to be Superman, hasn't it? You know what I mean?
Superman?
Yeah. Only if I can get the powers as well.
I thought you were going to say, like, Dracula.
Dracula?
Or Grandpa Munster.
No. Well, not well. I tell you what, Iron Man, because the technology could possibly make.
Oh yeah, actually, well, there's people who've made Iron Man costumes. Talking about technology, right? I mean, like, I always thought, you know, what would be a really good thing to have was like a laser guided bee cannon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that'd be a little bit fun.
Firing bees at people, you know, pew, fire bees, right? Well, this woman has basically, she's been arrested, I'm assuming, because she unleashed a swarm of bees.
Oh, yeah.
On deputies who were trying to serve her an eviction notice. So I'm assuming she's been arrested. It's like, basically, a woman was facing several charges after unleashing a swarm of bees on a deputy. Attempting to serve her an eviction notice in the Western Massachusetts authorities. The deputy arrived on October 12th at a large suburban home, and basically a woman about 55 years old, she did not live in the home, but then basically pulled onto the driveway towing a trailer with beehives in it.
Yeah.
She just then went ahead and released the bees.
Yeah,
so she didn't have a bee cannon or a bee rifle or anything like that. But
I've seen a photo of it. She was wearing the bee outfit, and two coppers were walking.
It's like biological warfare.
Yeah,
it's like sending the bees.
What she did was she weren't going to leave away from the bees, so the coppers would have to come to her. So as the coppers come to her, she's irritated the bees, and they've gone out, and the coppers did actually get.
What did they do? What did she do? Go, he's just called your mum,
and
all the bees just went, fucking hey.
Just tap it.
Did you hear that? And they all went for, I'm not having that.
They all had the coppers,
Just tippy-tappy.
And then she got arrested in her outfit.
What, in a beekeeping outfit?
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's like, what you in for? She sat there in a beekeeping outfit there.
Pretending to be a ghost.
Fuck knows, don't know. So the bees, you know, I've never heard of anybody using bees as a weapon.
Yeah, I've heard of dogs.
Weaponized bees. I've heard about it. I've heard about a lot of things. I've seen a peanut stand.
I've
seen a rubber band. Yeah. I've seen a needle that winked its eye.
Did it now?
Yeah. Well, I've never seen this. You've heard of Deadpool?
I have.
Well, now Death Pool.
Oh right. Okay.
It's like Blackpool, but a bit nicer.
Oh,
So this is a real thing. A death pool. Yeah. Another reason why not to go in the sea, basically, because the sea sucks ass.
You need another reason.
Right, another reason, right? Because, like I say, the sea sucks ass. There's too much stuff in there that I don't like.
Mainly us.
Now,
chemicals.
if you weren't scared of the ocean already, you probably will be after this, because a death pool has been discovered.
Oh, no.
Yeah, at the bottom of the Red Sea.
Oh,
right.
What?
Well, why do you think they call it a death pool? Firstly.
No idea. Is it a whirlpool down there? Is there a little hole that it goes down?
I shall tell you now. Well, the death pool is called the death pool because it instantly kills anything that swims into it.
Oh, right. Okay.
Instant death.
Right. So what is it?
Well, it was found by the University of Miami research team, and it basically measures a whopping 107 square feet, in diameter. It's a long way down. It's about 2 miles down, I think. But basically, it's been there forever, man. It's probably been there for about 23 million years.
Whoa.
Right? And the reason why it can kill you so quickly is because it's so salty. Yeah, there's no oxygen in the water whatsoever. Yeah, so it's basically come down to the idea that there's so many minerals in the water that it's
not breathable.
It's not able to support anything, any life sort of thing.
We should be able to.
So there's no oxygen. It's like a brine salt solution.
Yeah.
So it's deadly to pretty much most things. So they reckon that anything that would swim in there would instantly be shocked and die.
Yeah. I've seen small ones before, but I haven't heard of a big one like this one.
So do you think, obviously, right, we can go swimming in crazy places because we've got breathing apparatus we can take with us.
Yeah.
I assume that's anything that's got gills, because obviously it's going to try and take the oxygen out of the water.
Yeah,
won't be able to find it and then die.
Generally, most fish try and swim fast in the ocean, because if they don't swim fast, then they're going to be a target, aren't they?
Well, this is the thing, because like humans just generally can't breathe underwater anyway. So I mean, like if we swam into the death pool, it wouldn't kill us instantly. But I don't know whether the water would be a different consistency, and that might throw us potentially.
That'd be probably floaters. That'd probably float us up because there's too much salt, so you're floating more.
Yeah, like the Dead Sea.
Yeah, like the rivers under the sea. You know, when you see there's a load there.
The rivers under the sea when you see.
Yeah. Looks like it looks like a river under the sea, but once you try and get in there, the buoyancy pushes you back up.
I suppose it is like the Dead Sea, because obviously they say it's so salty that you do float in that. Yeah. So, well, there you go. Yeah. Well, moving on, I've got some NASA news. Have you got any more stories, or do you want to go straight into NASA?
I've got one more story. The world's oldest dog, Pebbles.
Oh, we'll end on a puff piece.
Yeah.
The world's oldest dog, Pebbles, has died. Has he really? Yeah. Oh, I was taking the piss. Sorry, Pebbles.
Yeah, age of 22, 5 months before.
Is that an old dog?
Yeah, fucking hell. You're talking like about 14, 15 when they're like, right.
No, I always thought like, cats and dogs were like, I've had friends who've had dogs that have been in the 20s, surely.
No, I don't think
it's like it's an old boy, but
it's, being that old.
22, is that
22?
So how old's that in dog years?
Oh, fucking hell, now you say, and my maths ain't that great.
Do you want me to Google it for you?
Yeah, you go and Google it.
So you tell us a story.
Yeah. So on Monday, he died. He lived in lived in South Colorado since 2007, and a big fan of playing and running, and loved the ball.
Oh, well, there you go. As long as it's, like if it loved the ball.
Oh, yeah.
Right, well, all right then. Right, okay. So, was it a large breed?
No, it was, what do you call it? I can't remember what the fucking breed's called. But no, it was a small dog.
So it was a small breed, right, okay. Yeah. So
like
if
a Yorkshire Terrier.
Average 1 year is 15 human years for a small breed dog. Yeah. Right, yeah. I'd say that goes as far as like,
fox.
Most breeds, yeah, right. So if we look at say 10 years, a small breed dog after 10 years is 56 in human years, right?
So it was
over the hundreds. It was probably about 100 and about 115.
Oh yeah, possibly, yeah.
I'd say it was about 115 in human years.
That's fair enough.
In that case, and that is an old dog. I've got to give it that, because this graph actually only goes up to 16 years in dog years, because I've assumed that that's what most dogs live up to, a maximum, and that's 80 years in human years, 16 years.
Yeah, so that's like you manning it. You know what I mean? In England, it's roughly about 80.
Oh. So he's, bless him. Well, he's had a very good innings, and you know what? You got to make room for the next champion.
Well, who's going to beat it?
Who's going to be the oldest dog ever?
That's the world record holder at the minute. And in fact, England has had its first bison born in the UK for first time in over 6,000 years.
Yeah, but there's a bit of a thing about this, because I happen to know about this, and even though the bison was born in the UK,
it wasn't created over.
It was inseminated on the boat, probably, or even wherever it came from, been imported from. It just happened to give birth here, so it wasn't like a natural conception in the UK. No. Which is nice that we've got bisons here.
Well, we've got 4 female bisons.
I don't feel like they could claim credit for that one and go, it was all our doing.
Yeah.
All us in the UK with our British ingenuity and bison skills.
It's another runner lover, because it loves running around in circles at the minute. It's just running around and around.
Chasing its tail.
Yeah, or someone else's. I think it's just...
Welcome to the UK. Yeah, it's just one of the lot now. He was just like the rest of us, chasing our tails and banging our heads against walls.
Certainly is.
So well, that's interesting. It's interesting because it wasn't any British involvement whatsoever.
No, but hopefully there being 4 of them now, 4 females. Hopefully, we would actually get a real
bison born on English soil. Yeah, fair play. Well, moving into NASA news.
Yes.
I've got this story about, and this is just logical to me anyway. I don't understand why this is even a headline, but scientists are saying now, looking for signals of alien technology could be how humanity finds extraterrestrial life.
Yeah.
No shit.
No shit, Sherlock, you know what I mean?
Considering we
ding,
do
ding,
that,
ding, ding, ding.
yeah, we send probes out, we send signals out, we've got stuff buzzing around our planet. Surely, looking for that type of thing
is what we need to do.
Yeah, so this is kind of like, seems a bit kind of pointless to me in terms of like, you know, a story. But, you know, if alien life were to, you know, look at Earth, you know, we'd see human technology. They'd see cell towers, they'd see fluorescent light bulbs, they'd see beacons, they'd see satellites, they'd see a lot of stuff. We're a lot of noise.
We are noisy.
So if there is intelligent life out there, we'd assume that these guys would be doing similar stuff. Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's why we're looking out. Yeah, that's
so looking for signals and looking for, you know, evidence of intelligent life out there, you know, is kind of something that, you know, they should be doing. I mean, they are actually forming a new team at the moment of UFO studies.
Yeah,
and the team includes former astronauts, scientists, and a load of other kind of people who you'd kind of want on board, I suppose.
Yeah.
But in June, the space agency announced it had, you know, basically put together a panel to investigate UFOs. And, you know, that's what they've been doing. So they basically all began in fall, cost less than $100,000 to last about 9 months from the start to finish. They're going to look into it. NASA have got officials that say that they're going to kind of get a definitive report or answer to what, you know, these sort of oddities are in the sky, because
we need to know
they've already
questions.
Acknowledged now that, you know, they are seeing things and they don't know what they are. They can't say the UFOs, but they can't tell you what they are. So obviously,
truth
the
is
UFOs.
Out there, son.
But the study doesn't aim to be the last word in UFOs. It's obviously looking to progress and try and get a bit more information.
Or is it going to be another Project Blue Book?
Potentially, I mean,
we throw it away later.
They've got a lot of stuff that they've gathered on UAPs, UFOs, and obviously other classified stuff that we won't have get to see, which I'm assuming these guys will get to peruse.
Yeah, but I think they're only going to get to a certain amount of, you know, classification, because there's still going to be a classification there that is hidden away from.
They're just going to turn around to us and go and say exactly what they said in that last report.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Go,
totally.
Oh, yeah, we can't really say either way. And
we
it's
don't know, but we do
getting us all
now.
excited.
Yeah.
But understanding the data is a big thing. So, you know, having people on board who are able to kind of understand that data and try and make sense of it is kind of like a big thing. Obviously, having people who have had knowledge and understanding of being in, you know, aerospace, as well as actually being astronauts, being out there. Maybe some of these astronauts have seen things themselves
quite a lot of them have,
and they're looking for answers to what they saw.
Quite a lot of them do.
So you know, hopefully we'll get a bit more information about that as it progresses.
We all and proper information, not the bullshit.
Yeah,
that they like to give out.
Yeah. Come on, give us some bullshit.
All right then. You want some bullshit, son?
I've got one last story anyway, and that's me. So you crack on.
This is my one and only. It's a little bit of a solar eclipse we will be able to see over England.
I love a good solar eclipse. When's this happening?
This is happening next week on Tuesday morning.
Okay, and it's just going to be a little solar eclipse. How do you mean by a little solar eclipse?
Well, you're going to see the moon go a little bit on the top of where the sun is and just see it.
So it's going to be a partial eclipse.
Yeah.
Not a sort of full solar eclipse, but a partial eclipse is pretty cool, even nonetheless.
Yeah, it's an eclipse. You know
but
what I mean?
I will say, don't go out staring at the sun.
No.
Because you will hurt your eyes.
Unless you've got them special glasses.
Unless, you've got a piece of cardboard with an hole in it.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it.
That's the one. Just look through the hole, you'll be able to see it.
Yes.
And if you're unsure about how to make one, go on YouTube. I'm sure there'll be a tutorial on how to safely look into the sun to look at eclipses.
Yeah. Someone's doing it somewhere.
I found this story quickly before we end the show. SpaceX.
Oh, yeah.
Fined $18,000
All right.
Yeah, after an incident that put one of Elon Musk's workers in a coma.
And he only has to pay $18,000. That's bullshit.
Well, no, I'm not sure if that's just a fine they've had to pay. I'm assuming that the
even
fucking
as a fine
settlement for the chap who's in a coma would be quite a lot more.
Wait, you dope?
I mean, the fine. I mean, depends on what the accident, how the accident happened, and whether they were at significant fault or not. SpaceX has just been fined, like I say, $18,000.
So they've been found guilty
following an incident at a facility in California. A technician suffered a fractured skull during a rocket test in January, and sources told insiders that Elon Musk's firm was charged with 2 violations of
safety,
Occupational Health and Safety Administration. So basically, yeah, I mean, that just sounds
it's not
like
one thing, it's 2 things, and they're only paying 18.
Well, no, that might be like your standard fine. You know, just because he's Elon Musk and he's got like a lot of money.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, but you don't charge him, you charge the company.
Well, that's what I'm saying. As a company, the Health and Safety
10%.
Administration will probably look at that and go, right, well, your average fine for an incident of this like this is $6,000. There's been 2 incidents, so there you go. Yeah, well, that's obviously not the right maths, but for instance, but these. Yeah,
I would like to know who pays their corporation to do the checks, because if like Elon Musk has to pay them a little bit of money, then that's inside dealing. You know what I mean? Like a lot of corporations now, it's like food industry, like in the American food industry, get paid by the food industry, but if they don't agree with,
you're confusing the thing there. It's like it's not. It's a government.
That's a shit amount of money for
saying you violated health and safety. Yeah. You've got a $9,000 fee to pay. Yeah, right?
Fucking every day. And you know what I mean?
Basically, yeah. Fluff. To Elon Musk,
fluff.
But that's just because he's who he is.
Yeah,
yeah. But the next company might be like a grassroots company that's only got 5 staff. And they violate the same thing and the same accident happens. Obviously, they're not doing rocket tests, but in a food industry, someone has that same accident, falling off a ladder and hurts themselves, right?
Yeah. It should be 10% of
They'd be just as liable for that fine as Elon, yeah, right? He'd pay the same fine. It'll probably be the same fine because it's a standard fine. It's not any greater because of who Elon is and because he's got more money. Now, the real...
Yeah, but it's not about him, it's about the business.
The real settlement will come when the guy goes, well, I've been in a coma for months, I've had a fractured skull, where's my payout?
Here's a tenner, you signed the contract, mate.
That payout would be significantly more, I assume.
Yeah, but it's not that, it's the thing of the standard of, in America there was a rule that was brought in for certain firms where it was, if you get fined, it's 10% of your profit that we take off you, so that's a big hit, to a big business.
Right,
so you should be doing that to any big business. It should actually be like 20% because then they have to put the money, the effort,
but is
and
that
make
not a
sure.
case of because it's food and it's food standards and food safety? You're basically putting that out into the public.
Yeah.
So in terms of how many people you could possibly harm with a dangerous product, it is fucking exponentially bigger.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. Whether it's just one worker who they've broke one health and safety violation or had a violation and we knew that was going to be an issue. We should have put them measures in place. And because you failed to do so, we're fining you.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Fining a company, 20% of the profit, that could cripple a company, yeah, right? So, for a violation or a health and safety violation, I agree that the standardized fine is enough to make them go, oh, yeah, well, we better fix that, yeah, right?
Because it doesn't kick him up the ass, it just goes...
You're thinking of it as though I'm a bajillionaire, so it doesn't really bother me.
Yeah, but like I said, it's not on him, it's on the corporation. Yeah,
exactly,
so it's whatever the
So
corporation
they need to be able to do that, right? Yeah, or be able to put those things right, so the next time health and safety come over and say, have you made those changes yet? They can say, yeah, right? We don't want to get fined again.
Yeah.
Now, a smaller company, like I say, would maybe feel that fine, whereas just unfortunate that Elon Musk has a successful business that he might not feel it at all. Do you know what I mean?
But it's to keep up the standards of, like, the business, like... looking after the workers and not putting profit first.
Understandably, but like I say, it's like whether it's the choice of putting a thriving company that is good for the economy and good for the country and good for aerospace engineering and all the rest of it, put them in the toilet over a health and safety violation just so we can say, oh, well, we fined him 30% of all his profits.
Why didn't they charge him 20 million instead of the 18? Because the 18 is like, it's nothing. At least 20 million is going to give him a little scratch.
Because I've just explained it. It's a standard fee. It's a standard fine that would be issued to anyone breaking that violation. It's not. They're not going to charge Elon Musk more because he can afford it. Yeah. Unfortunately, right? Yeah. Now, we come from the UK where we're used to him giving out big payments to fucking people for no reason, right? Yeah. Right. So I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, like the way that I see it is, I wouldn't ruin a company for the sake of this. I'd fine him the standard fine. It's just like I say, unfortunate that he won't feel it in his pocket because the company's so profitable. Yeah, that's like a fucking everyday payment to them. Just pay him.
So then that gives him the right to do it again and again and again.
It says
it sort of does because there's no.
That's a negative way of looking at it, but it doesn't. If you were going to be slack with your health and safety protocols, then yeah, you could basically get away with paying fines left, right, and centre and not worry about it.
Yeah.
But doing what Elon Musk's doing,
there are dirty cunts out there which would do
probably, yeah. But I mean, looking at like SpaceX, he's trying to do government contracts. He's trying to the problem with health and safety is a majority of the time it doesn't come into play until an accident's happened.
Yeah,
right. It's like everything's cool, dead loosey goosey, and then an incident will happen, and then all of a sudden hazard tape everywhere, signs are up. People are really concerned. You got to wear PPE. You've got to wear this. You've got to wear that. You got a helmet on. You know what I mean? And it's like
there is some.
The reason why is because they're being watched now. They've had an incident, so now they're going to have people inspecting them every 2 minutes, going, "Are you up to code?" Because we're going to have a walk round and see what we feel you need to improve on.
Yeah, but I'm afraid the bigger issue is we have a lot of stupid people.
I understand what you're saying. You're saying if he can afford it, he should be charged more for any sort of violations and stuff. But unfortunately, that doesn't operate in that way. It's a case of if you break that make that violation, you get a standard fine like everybody else. It's not a case of that we treat people on a profit margin basis.
Well, it should be percentage.
In tax-related matters, I totally agree. The more money you earn, the more tax you should pay.
Fucking damn right.
But in this instance, I'm not sure. And like I say, I feel like he'll get a real hit in terms of what he has to pay out when the claim comes in for the worker who actually had the incident.
Well, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
What do you think? Let us know at home. I think that's the end of the episode. And we've started the show with vampires sucking you for everything you've got.
Got sucking going on.
And we've ended the show with a bit of bleeding Elon Musk dry with his debts.
Yeah.
So
he can afford it.
It's a robberous. It's a full circle.
It is. It's a fucking bullshit circle. That's what it is, mate.
It's a circle, and nonetheless.
Yeah.
We're ending the show now. So obviously, if you would like to get in touch, you've got anything to suggest, you would like to make a comment or leave us a question, feel free to do so. You can leave us a comment on all the platforms. And as well as send us an email at neverstraightanswer@gmail.com. Yeah. Go to the website. There's a contact page on there. Also, there's plenty of stuff going on the website, so make sure you check that out. I'm going to update the website. It's going to be getting a new look at some point soon.
It's going to get a good look.
It's going to get a new look for the new year coming up. Lots of exciting stuff going on, so make sure you check out the website. Like I say, there's downloadable episodes, videos, and all sorts of blogs and news stories, and God knows whatever else. Yeah. We'll be back with another episode. I think we've got a guest coming up, which will be exciting, because we've not had a guest for ages. It's always nice to have another person on board. Get bored talking to this fella all the time.
Yeah, read each other's minds.
Anyway, I'm only joking. He's a great co-host. Wouldn't do it if we weren't.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Right, well, we'll be back next time for another episode, so we'll see you then. I've been Gaz.
I've been Taylor.
And we've been the Never a Straight Answer podcast. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Oh.
Geronimo.
Halloween.